We're going to talk about the future of what they call Flower City. That's Brampton, Ontario, with its mayor. Here's Susan Fennell. Nice to have you here in our studio.
Always a pleasure to talk about city building in Brampton.
Well, let's do that, because your city, by the year 2031, is estimated to have a population that's going to be 200,000 beyond where it is today.
That's right.
And I want to know how that will change your city in the short run. You must be planning for that right now.
Well, we've always been a fast-growing city, one of the fastest-growing cities. And what I want to make sure is clear for people, everything in Brampton has a plan. I insist on it. You have to have a plan. You have to have a plan that looks beyond the first year, the 5th year, and the 10th year. So in Brampton, when I was first elected, we put in a 10-year capital and current budget financial plan. And part of that was to become debt-free, of course, which we did. Then a transportation and transit master plan, an official plan that calls for full and complete compact neighborhoods that can support the transit, a community services master plan, an economic development plan to balance employment lands with residential. The province of Ontario determines where growth will occur. So Brampton is designated an urban growth center. So the population of Brampton is designated to grow. Municipalities have the opportunity to organize the growth, to plan for schools, to plan for places of worship.
Let me pick up on that, because
economic development.
I think some of your spreading out growth is limited by the fact that the green belt is around Brampton and there's certain areas you can't develop. Does that mean Brampton will invariably have to intensify its development going forward?
Well, we've planned for intensification. The provincial statement of places to grow requires 40% of our intensification to be within the built form now. So our central commercial corridor, Queen Street, downtown Brampton, is designated for high intensification, and we mark it to that end. The neighborhoods that are being developed on what people would say are greenfields, Brampton really has no green belt. It went outside of Brampton. Brampton's role in the GTA is to accept urban population, political boundary to political boundaries. So Highway 50 to Winston Churchill, Mayfield Road to 407. And we put in place, to go with that, a development cap. We may be the only community with a development cap, which means we regulate to the development community how many residential units can go forward each year at a pace we can afford. We can afford, meaning we can supply transit into the new and developing areas as people are moving in. Very important. This entire planning, this infrastructure planning, provides for better transit. Our transit is growing at 4 times the national average. It's an extraordinary challenge, but I believe the ability for municipalities to cope with this level of growth is partnership. But we partner with the federal, with the provincial government.
Okay, people expected, listen, I'm under the assumption that people expected a particular type of suburban lifestyle when they made the decision in years past to move to Brampton. And I wonder if any of that is in any jeopardy right now as you have to intensify development going forward.
Well, when you look at that, I mean, Brampton predates Confederation, so we've been around a while. Part of our protection of our quality of life for people is involving the citizens who are living in our city. We recently went through the latest round of our strategic planning, full citizen engagement. And from that, we heard at the top of the list, for example, Brampton should have a university. Families do not want to spend the money to send their children out of town for university or buy a second car.
So what do you got in mind for that?
Well, Brampton has a very exciting business plan. As you know, the provincial government in their 2011 throne speech announced 3 new undergraduate universities. Brampton believes we have a very solid business case to be a community that is announced to be part of that.
They backed away from that pretty quickly because they haven't got the money for that right now, right?
But you know, with partnerships, you can achieve a lot more. We've had successful partnerships with the province of Ontario. I mean, when I look at $300 million for our Zoom bus rapid transit, that's a partnership with the federal government, provincial government, and the city of Brampton. We partnered with Sheridan College. When I first became mayor, we invested modestly in the college to help them achieve a stronger presence, advanced manufacturing, supporting the local economy, growing knowledge infrastructure in the city of Brampton. Today, Sheridan College is very quickly reaching the stage where they're eligible, they're a candidate to be accredited as a full university.
They're pushing for it, I know that.
We have agreed at council last week, it was unanimous, that Brampton would do two things. One, we would support through a memorandum of understanding Sheridan College to become a university. And the programs, that'd be an undergraduate university. The programs that they develop are in sync with the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow, the creative economy. At the same time, we approved goal number 2, which is a Canada-wide RFP for a university in Canada who wants to have a presence in the GTA for R&D, a master's, PhD programming, that we would put the land on the table.
So in Sheridan's case, you're talking about a second campus, for example, in Brampton?
Yes, for Sheridan, they're very interested in being in the downtown, part of the mobility hub where the LRT is programmed to be, all-day go, diverges, downtown Brampton, having a campus within the downtown. We own parcels of land. We put everything on the table. Would you like to come to one of these places and be part of the knowledge infrastructure in downtown Brampton as part of the intensification of a growing city?
Madam Mayor, have you met with the Premier yet?
Yes, I have.
Individually?
Yes, individually.
You had a one-on-one with the Premier?
Well, we had a one-on-one with the Premier and the Brampton members of provincial parliament, and we presented the business case for Brampton's university with Sheridan. And I think it was very well received because the business case, it makes sense. It makes sense to the companion to economic development in Ontario is having the knowledge infrastructure. When we're doing economic development across Canada, internationally, people want to know what's the skills development and the jobs of tomorrow, the young people of today, small and medium enterprise, supporting these young people, it is really going to take the future of Ontario into the next century.
Brampton's population a little over 500,000?
Right now we're closing in on 600,000.
Okay. Last
census, 2011, 523, we grow around 20,000 a year. So if you do the math, we're around 600,000.
One hospital?
One hospital, extraordinary hospital, Brampton Civic Hospital. But as you know, in the opening, again, that was a partnership, but the Brampton Civic Hospital, an extraordinary place of I would say the most extraordinary doctors, nurses, volunteers, the whole package. We're very lucky to have the hospital, William Osler Hospital, in our city. Brampton needs to be planning our 3rd hospital, but in the meantime, in the development of Brampton Civic, the province closed Peel Memorial. It should never have happened, but now we're in an approved plan, and again, a partnership with the province to bring back Peel Memorial Hospital as an integrated healthcare campus, a future way of delivering healthcare and support for communities. And yes, we are planning the lands and discussions. You really need to be thinking about a 3rd hospital. But maybe hospitals need to be different in terms of their delivery of care. And that we leave to the medical professionals and, of course, the province, but Brampton's at the table.
In terms of the ethnic makeup of Brampton, what are, say, give us the top 3 or 4 so-called ethnic groups besides French and English, who are the founding peoples, and Aboriginal, of course.
I would say that we have a very large South Asian community. We're very proud of our immigration and the number of people who choose Brampton. They have choices. And the GTA is bursting at the seams in every community, so people can choose. And more, when you're the fastest growing city, what you're saying is more people choose Brampton than anywhere else in Canada. And there's a reason for that. It's an extraordinary quality of life. We are a wonderful citizenry. So the South Asian community, very, very prominent in our city. Strong Portuguese community. One of the only full Portuguese church, archdiocese outside of downtown Toronto. Very, very strong Portuguese community. Very strong Polish community. With the Millennia Project from the late Pope John Paul, we have St. Eugene de Mazenod Parish. But that's the I call it the magic of Brampton. You can stand on the steps of the Polish church, and if you look to the right, you'll see the Bulgarian Orthodox Church that Mr. Caniff built. If you look to the left, you'll see a Gurdwara, and then a temple, and you turn around and you're looking at a completely different faith. It all works in Brampton.
Okay, here's my next question.
People work together.
What's your ethnic background?
Well, my ethnic background, originally, I'm from Montreal. My father's Swiss. My mother's from England, my grandmother's from the United States, and my grandfather on my mother's side is a 6th-generation Quebecer. So, maybe that understands the politics. Us people that were born in Quebec seem to have an affection for being involved politically.
Well, I mean, I hope it's not an unfair question to ask how much longer someone who is of one of our so-called founding cultures, French and English, how much longer those multicultural communities in Brampton feel that you are the embodiment of their political aspirations.
Do you know what? For me as a human being, I see people, I see Bramptonians. I don't see culture, skin, language, accent. I just see people who are so proud. No, I don't believe they do. Oh, sure, there's going to be enclaves of people who have an attitude about this culture, that culture, but we can't focus on that. We have to focus on the peaceful and the way we live in harmony, and we build together, we job create together, we inspire each other. That's Brampton.
You want a subway?
Oh, listen, if subways were possible in the GTA, we would love to. As you know,
I think they're giving them out these days, aren't they?
Well, I don't think they're giving them out.
No, you got LRTs coming, right?
Well, listen, the LRT is a transit-wide solution across the GTA. And as I said earlier, I believe in the GTA. We're one economic base, and that's why we're a partner in the Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance. I believe we all have to work together to make this larger economic base and work for Ontario, work for Canada. So the province has come forward and said, here's our solution. It's an LRT integrated system with all-day go. That's what Brampton would
You're
like
happy with
most
that?
of all. We don't have all-day go. We would like, can you imagine being of our population, and again, we don't have all-day go. So the proposal includes a line in the region of Peel. That's completely different than history would show. Brampton used to be, when you would look at a map of what was going on in the GTA, it went to the airport. Brampton was off the map. We're part of the conversation. That's a big step forward for the city of Brampton. Brampton matters. We're part of the conversation. Acceleride, which was the name of the financial package to develop what is today's Zoom, brought to the province and to the federal government the logic of connecting travelers, connecting commuters on the other side of the airport, east-west through the 905 and south into Mississauga. And that is now the Zoom lines today that are doubling in ridership as they're being added. We just turned the sod on phase 2 of Zoom bus rapid transit. And now we have an LRT line which will connect us into the system, the rapid transit system for the GTA.
Okay.
Brampton deserves to be connected.
Help me with this. There's a council that all the mayors in the Greater Toronto Area sit on, right? Isn't there? What's that called?
We have a Greater Toronto Mayors and Chairs. We sit on a large urban mayors caucus of Ontario and big city mayors of Canada.
So have you had any dealings with Rob Ford in that capacity?
In the capacity of the...
Sitting on the big city mayors panel?
Well, the big city mayors panel has usually been a representative of the city of Brampton participate depending on the discussion of the day. So Rob has not been part of the caucus meetings in place, but you know, some mayors come in by teleconference call.
But I guess
some
what I'm
mayors
getting at
come when
here
they
is, have you done business with them? Can you do business with them? Do you know?
I would say that our activity as it relates to the City of Toronto and interacting with the Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance, economic development, business development, we deal more on a totality of the Economic Development Office and the Economic Development Office. Transit, how do we fully integrate transit? Brampton sends a transit bus into the airport. We send transit buses to York University. So we are creating the linkages and obtaining.
But this is my point. Everybody talks about
that we need.
Everybody talks about the Greater Toronto Hamilton area now, which
Yes.
means presumably all of your different individual
Yes.
political entities are being required to think more regionally going forward, which is hard to do if you can't do business with the other people who are involved. So again, my question is, can you do business with Rob Ford?
Well, we're doing business with the City of Toronto, and there's a representative from Toronto who's participating, whether it's their police board with our police board, their transit commission, and larger transit talks. I don't feel that, you know, when I'm working with the mayor of Mississauga, we're within the same region. We've worked together for 20 years, mayor of Caledon, mayor of Mississauga, mayor of Brampton. When we're working with other municipalities, it may be mayor to mayor, it may not be. It's frequently, more often, not mayor to mayor.
You're running for re-election?
Yes, I am. Mel Osman was present for Big City Mayors, one of the meetings. Dave Miller was very active with Big City Mayors of Canada. And Rob Ford, usually Giorgio, is representing the City of Toronto when we're talking, yes, Big City Mayors.
Okay.
Or Pam McConnell has been a stalwart for the goals of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities as we advocate for partnerships with federal government.
I think Rob Ford and Pam McConnell had an interesting meeting on the floor of council the other day.
They may
but that's
have.
another story.
That is.
I think they bumped into each other, as the expression goes. Let me read you something that Christopher Hume wrote in the Toronto Star and then get you to respond to it if you would. As the bills come due, suburbia is fast going from having the best of both worlds to the worst. That loud sucking sound, heard first in Mississauga as it entered a downward spiral some years ago, is now audible in Brampton. Both cities, and he writes cities in inverted commas, are reaching the end of the late suburban development cycle, and all those fees that kept property taxes low for years have dried up or are about to. Suddenly, the residents of those two communities are discovering the real price of sprawl. As their leaders know, it won't be cheap. Your view on that?
Well, first of all, I don't think that I disagree with Mr. Hume entirely. The city of Brampton is based, as I said, on a sound plan, a sound official plan. The intensification that we require is going on. Further, we have the discipline to protect employment lands for the kinds of employment that we want to attract to the city of Brampton. They're not drying up. Yes, if we let everybody do what they want, which some people think you do, but it just isn't the case, we wouldn't have attracted Medtronics, Air Canada Global Operations Center, recently Canada wanting to bring in their corporate headquarters. These are major companies, and they complement the small, medium enterprise that work together with them. Brampton is well positioned to grow into its full program size by the provincial government, and our job is to ensure we're setting the table for the right kind of economic development, the right kind of jobs for the people today and the people tomorrow. There's nothing better than a family who moves to Brampton, and I say to them, you're never allowed to leave, you know. That's what I believe in. When family can stay with family so that you can be home from work, participating in your son or daughter's sports team, when you can see the grandparents because they also live in the same town, that's the ultimate quality of life. So our residents say, our young people don't have to leave to find a job. They don't have to leave to find an affordable place to live. It's not easy. But if we take the attitude that, well, it's just not going to work, then what's the future bring? I think we have a remarkable future ahead of us, and our young people are going to take us there. That's why it's so important to invest in knowledge infrastructure, the university, in companion with tomorrow's employment, the high-tech businesses, the life sciences, food and beverage, aerospace, all key sectors in Brampton's economy.
I got one last question for you. Little historical trivia. You ready for this?
Sure.
What two Canadian premiers both went to Brampton High?
What, two Canadian premiers?
You knew
okay,
one of
I'm
them.
going to guess Bill Davis.
Bill
You'll
Davis
have
is
to help
one.
me with the second one.
Howard Pauley from Manitoba.
Well, there you go.
You learned something coming into TVO tonight.
You get a good education when you're in the city of Brampton. Not only the education, we have remarkable educators, but you're surrounded by the inspiration of the honesty and the hardworking culture of the many cultures who are presently in Brampton. We are blessed.
Mayor Fennell, we thank you for coming into TVO tonight and sharing the word.
Thank you.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.